Hi friends! Thank you for joining our channel Make That Change, where Anastasia and I share our insights about life after immigration to Canada. And today we have quite a controversial topic to discuss. We will share some insights about immigrants' mindset, and we will answer the question of who are those people who dislike Canada.
Canada has always been one of the most livable countries in the world, and this year it was even named the #1 overall best country. But still, there are people who dislike Canada, who criticize Canada, decide to move out of Canada and live elsewhere. But why is that? Has it something to do with those people, or is it Canada's fault entirely?
Who are those people who won't like it in Canada? Or who are those people who are already in Canada and they don't like it here and they want to move?
I hope this video can be thought-provoking for those of you who are wondering whether or not to move to Canada. And for those who are already here, you might even recognize some of those traits in yourself.
You won't like it in Canada if you're closed-minded or inflexible. I think it's #1 reason why many newcomers start complaining after they come to Canada. If you're a newcomer, it'll be tough. Everything will be new for you. New language, new acquaintances, new ways of living, new corporate culture. If you're too conservative and you find it hard to adjust to new changes in your life, you might not like it in Canada, and it might make you feel pessimistic and displeased with your life in Canada. If you find yourself inflexible sometimes, I would suggest you prepare beforehand, before you come to Canada. Try watching some news, TV series, join some forums, Facebook groups, Reddit. Try to find Canadian friends and start conversation with them. It would be a nice way to learn about ways of thinking. You should also read about how banking system works, how tax or medical system work, because it might be different from your country. It doesn't mean it's worse or it's better. It's just different. This will help you start adjusting to the new reality even before you come to Canada. And it's also a very good way to improve your language.
Canada is also not for lazy people. Canada is famous for its work-life balance. But in order to get that as a new immigrant, you need to put a lot of initial effort to build out your career and to start feeling comfortable in your new role. As Anne has mentioned before, this adjustment is particularly difficult for newcomers. If you were a well-established professional back in your country, you will likely have to start it all over in Canada. And this adjustment might be challenging for some, and some might even start struggling with self-esteem because of that. To get to your comfort zone in your profession, you'll have to work twice as hard to create it. It takes time and effort. If you have reasons to believe that lack of self-esteem and motivation might affect you when you come to Canada, here's what I suggest. Start preparing for the Canadian career in advance. Do some research on the state of your profession here in Canada. Identify some skills or qualification gaps that you might have and start working towards them before moving to Canada. Also, start building your resume and start networking way ahead of time so that when you arrive to Canada, you feel like you know what you're up to and you're ready to go. You need to propel yourself forward in order to create that space where you can eventually slow down and enjoy your new life in this country. It will take time and effort, but it's definitely worth it.
You're absolutely right. I've met many people who were so motivated by immigration to Canada, but once they moved, they lost all the drive and motivation to move forward, and they became unhappy. I think this situation is very likely to happen if your main goal in life is to move to Canada, and that's it. Period. Those people do all the hard work in order to move to Canada, but once they do it, they stop. The reason is because they never had any other goal in life that goes beyond just buying a one-way ticket to Canada. If you find yourself in a situation like this, my advice would be to aim higher. Tell yourself that the act of moving is not your final goal. Tell yourself that you want to be successful in Canada. Maybe you want to open a new business. Maybe you want to become famous. Or maybe you want to settle down with family and live happily. Or maybe you want to use this experience as a stepping stone to move somewhere further. This way of thinking will help you constantly push yourself forward and become better. It will give you enough motivation and drive to wake up every morning and achieve more. And as a result, your life will be full of growth and wonderful experiences.
If you are intolerant, don't even think of coming to Canada. In Canada, personal freedom and freedom of expression is extremely important, and diversity is our strength. So if you cannot stand people who are different than you for whatever reason, you might not like it in Canada. Canadian culture encourages tolerance and respect towards different cultures and behaviors. and discrimination and intolerance is sometimes punished or even prohibited. There have been times where people have been fired or expelled from college for showing the discriminatory behavior. If you think you've engaged in some discriminatory behavior in the past, my advice for you would be to educate yourself on the subjects that you feel strongly intolerant about. Any kind of phobia is an irrational fear born from ignorance and misunderstanding. If you recognize some phobias in yourself and are willing to work on them, I would suggest to start dissecting your own behavioral patterns by playing a why game with yourself. Ask yourself the why question several times in a row in order to understand why a certain thing makes you feel a certain way. It usually takes about 5 why questions to find the root cause of your phobia within yourself. And you might also discover some interesting aspects within yourself.
Okay, I think we can play it out for you just to give you an example. I'll be Anastasia's inner self and I'll be asking her the right questions. So, why don't you like your coworker Joy?
I don't know, she's weird. And she has a weird thick accent and she smells funky. I wonder if she even showers, ever.
Alright, but why do you think you are so bothered by her smell?
I think I just dislike the smell of Asian spices. It reminds me of that time I got robbed near a Chinese restaurant.
But why do you keep thinking about it, even though it happened only once and it was so long ago?
Because I remember coming home that night and I shared this story with my father and he was so dismissive and he told me it was my fault and I felt really sad.
So why do you project the misunderstanding with your father and lack of emotional connection with him towards Joy? Alternatively, you can just try and put yourself in others' shoes and imagine what it's like to be bullied or discriminated just for the way you are.
All in all, be considerate towards others and their differences. Treat people the way you would like to be treated. Otherwise, Canada is not for you. If you're used to breaking rules in your country, you might not like Canada. Are you used to using money to get what you want or leveraging your connections to solve your own problems? Or perhaps you like cutting corners or fighting loopholes in the systems to get away, to save money, or to escape punishment. In that case, you might struggle here in Canada.
While, of course, there is some corruption on higher levels in Canada, it's nothing compared to third world countries, for example. For instance, in my country, in Russia, you can buy a degree, or you can pay a cop to get away from a fine, or you can pay some premium to get ahead in a line for a hospital. None of that will work in Canada. The social, legal, financial systems in Canada are very strong. Government systems are built on cooperation and trust. And usually people avoid doing business with those who are suspicious, and they can report any untrustworthy behavior easily. By breaking the law, you will get punished, and this punishment can be very harsh.
In Canada, you cannot easily pay to get ahead or pay to avoid prosecution. If cutting corners and breaking rules is normalized in your country, I would highly suggest to educate yourself on how the Canadian system works first. This way, you will understand which behaviors will and will not be tolerated in Canada, and you will avoid making mistakes that will cost you money and maybe even freedom.
And last but not least, it'll be very tough for you if you have strong cultural, religious or family beliefs. It's very similar to the very first point I mentioned in this video. If you're too conservative or you're too set in your own ways, it might be a big disadvantage for you in Canada. If you have strong obligations or restrictions in your culture, you might face clash of two realities when you come to Canada. Canadian society is free and progressive, yet some immigrants stick to their paradigm of life. It's not a big deal to keep to your traditions and culture. That's what makes Canada so vibrant. However, it might create a huge generation or cultural gap when immigrants with strong cultural beliefs come to Canada and raise their children. Their children end up growing in a largely Canadian society and they make international friends. They grow up in a culture where gay marriage or weed is legal and kids have sexual education in school. For conservative families, it might be considered a blasphemy and they will fight to preserve their ways of thinking while raising their kids. I've met people who would rather raise their children in their home country, surrounded by their own culture, Those people prefer to move back. Others who stay here start suppressing their children's freedoms and impose their own rules, isolating children from a happy Canadian childhood.
If you come from cultures with such strong beliefs, you might have to make tough choices on how you will be raising your child here. And you will have to make some concessions that might either impact your own beliefs of your own culture or impact your child's happiness and way of living. There are also people who prefer to remain within their own communities after moving to Canada and never fully assimilate in the country. They struggle learning and improving their English. They struggle finding a well-paid job or making many friends because they just can't understand the Canadian mindset. And it affects their quality of life. They blame the country for that. In fact, there are a lot of people who complain about Canada while still living within Canada and not wanting to move out. I wonder why. What could be the reason? What do you think is the reason? Please leave your thoughts below in the comment section.
And that's it for us, guys. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Leave your thumbs up or thumbs down to show your attitude to this topic, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care!